Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. Now, this is the daily chart of silver provided by netdania.com. You can click on the link below. Now, I had marked out that $20 price here was going to be a critical test of this downtrend line, and you can see we just touched it and then fell right back. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's follow through or if we get a turn down here. Now, that's very interesting in light of the fact that we have this story breaking today. This is the zero hedge coverage of it, the beginning of the end of precious metals manipulation. The London silver fix is officially dead. Following a crackdown, let me increase this because since I'm on 1080p, people can't see what I'm reading, so I'll increase these. Following a crackdown on precious metal manipulation by various European regulators, mostly Germany's BaFin, recall precious metals manipulation worse than LIBOR scandal, German regulator says, which led to the shocking outcome that Deutsche Bank would pull out of the London gold and silver fixing committees. The London Silver Market Fixing Company ended up with a most curious outcome. It would have just two members, HSBC and Bank of Nova Scotia, and as an even more shocking result, overnight the London Silver Fix announced that after August 14th, 2014, it will no longer exist. The first of many victories for all those who have fought for fair and unmanipulated precious metal markets. From the press release, the London Silver Market Fixing Limited, the company, announces that it will cease to administer the London Silver Fixing with effect from close of business on the 14th of August 2014. Until then, Deutsche Bank AG, HSBC Bank, USA&A, and the Bank of Nova Scotia will remain members of the company, and the company will administer the London Silver Fixing and continue to liaise with the FCA and other stakeholders. The period to the 14th of August 2014 will provide an opportunity for market-led adjustment with consultation between clients and market participants. The London Bullion Market Association has expressed its willingness to assist with discussions among market participants with a view to exploring whether the market wishes to develop an alternative to the London Silver Fixing. Question: what will happen after the 14th of August 2014? Will the silver fixing cease to exist? Etc., etc. Now, what's interesting about this, let's go into the history here. One can only hope that in the future all vestiges of gold and silver manipulation will eventually disappear, resulting in what may be the first real price discovery of precious metals, absent central and commercial bank manipulation. It is the same FT that we go to for some additional color on today's stunning outcome. It was born in the late 19th century when a handful of London bullion dealers agreed to meet daily under a cloud of cigar smoke to set the price for the devil's metal. But now, after 117 years of operation, the London Silver Fix, the global benchmark for the metal, is on its deathbed. The three banks that run blah, 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 blah. Market participants said the benchmark process, which occurs via teleconference and allows miners, financial institutions, and jewelers to trade silver and value their stocks and contracts, could not function properly with fewer than three members. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority asked Deutsche Bank to stay on for an extra 3 months to allow for the benchmark to be wound down smoothly. So you can see here that this silver fix has existed for 117 years. Now, the first thing I want to point out about this is if we go to gold fixing here, you can see this is the Wikipedia entry for gold fixing. There isn't a Wikipedia entry for silver fixing, which is interesting in and of itself. But if we go down to the bottom of this gold fixing, the only mention we see is latest silver fix prices. But when we look at gold fixing This is what it says. The London gold fixing, or gold fix, is the setting of the price of gold determined twice each business day on the London bullion market by 5 members of the London Gold Market Fixing Limited on the premises of N.M. Rothschild and Sons. It is designed to fix a price for setting contracts between members of the London bullion market, but informally the gold fixing provides a recognized rate that is used as a benchmark for pricing the majority of gold products and derivatives. Sorry, let me increase this. Throughout the world's markets, the gold fix is conducted in the United States dollar, the pound sterling, and the euro. There's your players and all the shenanigans we've got going on right now in the Ukraine. Interesting. Daily at 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. London time via a dedicated telephone conference facility. History. On the 12th of September 1919 at 11 a.m., the 5 principal gold bullion traders and refiners of the day performed the first gold fixing. Now, isn't that interesting? Weren't we just reading that the silver fixing started in 1897, 4 years after the crime of, no, that was, I guess it was the crime of 1873. So 25 years, quarter of a century after that crime. Correct me if my dates are wrong. But what's interesting here is that the gold fixing actually comes 24 years after, or 22, my math is bad, 22 years after the silver fixing already existed. Now that is very suspicious. And of course, we have to look at the question of why do they have these? Why do they have these fixings? Well, we're going to look at an article here. This is by Chris Powell, and he talks about this. He actually talked about this when the news first broke. This is from goldseek.com. Chris Powell, Secretary Treasurer of GATA, dear friend of GATA and Gold. GATA frequently writes about 24 journalists at mainstream financial news organizations about matters indicating manipulation of the monetary metals markets, alerting them to all new documentation and evidence we've discovered so that none of those organizations can claim not to have known what was going on, only to have ignored it. Of course, seldom do we receive even an acknowledgement. The issue is simply a prohibited subject for mainstream financial journalism in the West, but GATA may be the first to know when one of those journalists is on vacation or otherwise away from work for a prolonged time, as he'll set his email account to auto-respond and will get an indirect acknowledgement that way. Strangely today, one of those journalists included GATA in a request for comment on the Reuters report that the resignation of Deutsche Bank from the London gold and silver fixes would leave the gold fix with only 4 participants and the silver fix with only 2. Now, let me comment here briefly. So, I don't know how long it's been that there have been 3 participants in the silver fix, and the explanation that we're getting here is that a silver fix with just 2 members is simply untenable. How is it that a silver fix with 3 is okay? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't really see much difference between a silver fix amongst 2 banks and 3 banks. And these are banks inside banks. So, first of all, I don't buy this explanation at all. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing that I've pointed out in a previous video is that the silver fix occurs once a day and it's 3 members, whereas the gold fix occurs twice a day and it has 5 members. So that's just a side note. Your secretary treasurer provided such a comment, though he understood that he was more likely to win grand prize in one of the national lotteries than to be quoted by that mainstream financial news organization complaining about gold and silver market manipulation. At GATA, we go through the motions because it's our job, and because just as the infinite monkey theorem holds that an infinite number of monkeys given an infinite number of typewriters eventually will produce King Lear, maybe an infinite number of submissions of the biggest financial news story of the last century to an infinite number of mainstream financial news organizations eventually will get the story published, if only through computer error or sabotage. So your Secretary-Treasurer replied to the mainstream financial journalist's request for comment as follows, quote, "It has always puzzled me why the peculiar mechanisms of the London gold and silver fixes have never been prosecuted under the UK Competition Act," and then he gives a link to Wikipedia. "Insofar as no other markets operate this way, with participation so exclusive and secret, somehow the world gets along okay without a daily price fix in oil, soybeans, pork bellies, and such controlled by a small number of banks conferring in secret. So why only gold and silver? Is it because gold and silver are effectively money and currencies that compete with government currencies, and because, as a result, governments want to influence their prices in secret through intermediaries providing cover lest their market intervention be disclosed and the effect of the intervention thereby diminished? The secret March 1999 report of the staff of the International Monetary Fund suggests as much," and he gives you a link. That report says that Western central banks conceal their gold swaps and leases to facilitate their surreptitious interventions in the gold market. Presumably, central bank gold is loaned to bullion banks participating in the London gold fix, or to bullion banks using London fix banks as brokers. I would be surprised if there were no transactions or understandings involving silver between central banks and the banks operating the London silver fix as well. At least the U.S. government is specifically authorized by law, the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, as amended, to intervene secretly in the gold and silver markets through the U.S. Treasury Department's Exchange Stabilization Fund. And there's a link to the ESF. So there can be no dispute that surreptitious intervention in the gold and silver markets by the U.S. government is at least contemplated and provided for. I'm not an expert in the British Treasury equivalent of the ESF, the Exchange Equalization Account, but my understanding is that it's empowered to intervene secretly in the currency markets in the same way and for the same purposes. In any case, will anyone dispute that as the number of participants in the daily silver fixing in London diminishes, competition diminishes too? Governments have to decide whether they want more competition and transparency in markets for the monetary metals, or less competition and transparency. Less competition and transparency long have been their objectives. Chris Powell, the Secretary-Treasurer, Gold Antitrust. So that brings up the issue of why they have these fixes. And I think we all can probably agree on the answer is because they want to fix the price low, because these are competing currencies with their fiat currencies, and they don't want people finding out about what could happen. Now, this next article kind of hints at that. This is from silverspotpricehistory.net, and this is one of the few things you can actually find out there written about the London silver fix. So let's read this. Facts about the London silver fix. Many individuals new to precious metals sector do not know or understand the London silver fix, what it is, how does it work, and why it is used. These are just a few of the facts that investors should know about this process. The process is open to certain participants in the market, usually the largest traders who place the highest orders on a regular basis. With the gold fix, the participants are typically very large financial institutions, but this is not always the case with this version, although it is often true in this area as well. One price is quoted, and then the amount of bullion that is bought and sold is at the quote is tallied. The sum must equal zero, or the process starts over again. What is this method used for? The global markets use the set value as a benchmark for this precious metal. This gives investors and other market participants an average cost for an ounce of the ore and helps to adjust the playing field at times. This method was originally started in the year 1897 and still continues today. There are 3 members of the committee which holds the daily conference to determine the acceptable spot price when it comes to silver. The chairman of the committee is the Bank of Nova Scotia, Scotia Makata. There are 2 additional committee members who participate as well. These currently include HSBC Bank and Deutsche Bank AG. The daily meeting takes place at 12 noon, and the conference is held using a telephone rather than an actual face-to-face meeting. This is easier and more convenient for all the parties involved. Once the buy and sell orders match up, then the price quote is used to help adjust the spot price on the market. There have been concerns about market manipulation by the process, but this has never been proven, of course. And the checks and balances included make this far less likely. What checks and balances? Ridiculous. The London silver fix is a well-known method that dates back more than 180 years and is still used today because it is effective and can help keep the ounce cost from spiraling out of control. Let's repeat that. The London silver fix is a well-known method that dates back more than 180 years, and it is still used today because it is effective and can help keep the ounce cost from spiraling out of control. There you have it. That's the reason that they have a silver fix. And that's the reason that the silver fix, I think, is going away, is because they can no longer keep the ounce cost from spiraling out of control. It's coming, and it's on the chart, I believe. With my chart here, I think that this is going to be the crossover. If we get this, who knows how strong it's going to run if it gets through there. This is a very old downtrend line. I've covered the fact it starts with the May massacre. It continues with the September smackdown. It continues here with the Boston bombing. And now we're coming to a crucial turning point in the price of silver, and this coincides with this silver fix. So why is the price of silver fixed? It really doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it, because they've recently made, I believe, Basel III, I'm not sure, but they've recently made gold a tier 1 asset. So gold is an asset that banks can hold, and it can be fully valued as an asset. They can keep it on their balance sheet. Silver is not in any of those categories. So why is it that there has to be a silver fix at all? The central banks don't consider it money. None of the world's governments have considered it money since it's been demonetized in all the governments in the world. The United States removed it from the coinage in 1964, ending in 1969. So there's no explanation of why there would be a silver fix except to control the price of silver. That's the only explanation I can think of. And the fact that the silver fix is now going away seems to indicate that they believe that they can no longer control the price of an ounce of silver. And we'll talk to you next time.